Good morning, Cyber Warriors. I want to kind of continue the theme that I've had going for the last few videos about stuff that is encoded or hidden, often hidden in plain sight. Previously, we talked about encoding stuff using different methodologies like hexadecimal or base 64, which are most commonly seen. There are others. You can code something in binary. There's lots of decoders and ways to get all of that stuff translated into ASCII text so you can view it properly, right? And so steganography is hiding a message inside of another file. Now we're going to go the next level, and we're going to talk about an alternate data stream where it's not hiding information inside of another file, it's hiding a whole file inside of another file. So let's go take a look at that. Okay, so with alternate data streams, I'm going to show you two different ways to look at them. The first way is through old school DOS, which is actually easier to get after that information than PowerShell. PowerShell is better in the long run, but the old command prompt, that's the fastest way to get at the information. So here's how you do it, right? So we have our documents folder, we have one file in there, and we want to take a look and see if there are any alternate data streams attached to it. So click on the address bar, type in CMD, and boom, it pops up our command prompt window. I'm going to stretch this out a little bit so we have a little more real estate, but I also still want to show that folder. No, I don't want to do that. I still want to show this folder here. Okay, there we go. All right. So the command to do that is part of the dir command, right? So, but we want to do some special arguments into it in order to get the additional information. What I like to do is I like to show the file owner, right? So if we look here, display the owner of the file. Okay, so that's good to have information. And then let's see, I want to get the data streams, which is /r. And then if you want to do recursive, which means going through all of the folders that are in this one and below, that's that way. And then here controls which time field that is being displayed. So that's a /t. I like to use the /ta for the last access. This means that I can tell who was in it last. And that's a good piece of information to have for when you're doing forensics and investigation of a system. And when I'm looking at something by the last access date, I like to sort it. So to do that, we have to use a /o. And in this case, we're going to do O and D for by the date time, and the oldest is first. Okay, so our command, I'm going to roll this up here. It's dir / and I'm not obsessive compulsive, but I like to have things in alphabetical order. So OD, we're going to sort by date. And then Q, because we want to show the owner. And why that's a Q, I haven't the foggiest. R for our alternate data streams. And normally I would do a /s here to go after all the subsequent folders, but we don't need that in this instance. So this is T for the changing which time field is being used, and it is A. So for these things, you have to do them joined together. And you notice that I don't have capitals because in the command prompt, it doesn't care about capitals. The capitalization just doesn't matter. So boom, click on here, and you'll see that this is owned by the Riley account on this particular machine, and there is no alternate data stream. And we know there's no alternate data stream because it would be this file would be followed by more information over here. So let's actually create an alternate data stream file, show you what that looks like and how to access it and how to look at it again with the command prompt. Okay, so interestingly enough, we want to continue using the command prompt to do it. We don't want to do it through the GUI or the graphic user interface. So in order to do this, what we're going to do is we are going to actually copy our forensics question, and we're going to make a copy of it and rename it. So it's a copy command, and then we have to do in quotes because it has a space in it. And now we need to have ads-test.rtf. And you see it creates a new file in our folder. If we run our directory command again, it looks the same, and Riley is still the owner of that file. So what we want to do is open up Notepad, or actually we can do it without opening Notepad. But I'm going to do that anyway. So I'm going to open up Notepad, and we're going to call this ads.txt. Now the file doesn't exist, so it asks you, do you want to create the file? And you say yes, because yes, you want to create. That's the whole point. And I'm just going to type in something in here. In this case, it's going to be words go here. It's not important what's in it. It's the matter of, is it being created, right? So ads.text, and I'm going to save it and close it, and there it is. And if we type ads.text, we see it has words go here inside of it. So what we want to do is type ads.text again, but we're going to do something special with it this time. So we're going to do an up arrow here, and we're going to do this symbol here, which is the greater than. Let me separate that out so it looks a little bit better. Actually, I'm not sure if it can have a space. I know for sure it works this way, so let's do that. And then we have to do in quotes. So we're going to do ads dash test, and we're going to do a colon after this, and then it's going to be ads.txt. Okay, so our command is type ads.txt greater than to in quotes ads-text test.rtf colon ads.txt. Notice there's no space in that entire file name, so it has to be all together. Okay, so no new file was created, and that's because it's there, you just can't see it. It's actually part of this. So if we take a look at our forensics question, looks like a standard forensics question, right? And we made a copy of this. So let's take a look at ads test. It is the same. They are exactly the same. And our ads.txt. So where is that file, you say? Well, that file is there. It's just you can't see it. So let's run our dir command again. Oh, see this? It shows it here with the $ data attached to it, which indicates that this is special data. And so you're going to ask, well, how do we get access to ads.text? Well, that is pretty easy. You have to call it specifically. So write, and write is the command in command prompt in order to pull up the WordPad. So that's just an easy way to do it. So here we are, and I'm just going to copy this right here. And there you go. It says words go here. You're like, but what, Kilt Guy? That's just the notepad for ads.text. Well, let's take a look at this, because we're calling the ads test.rtf file, but we're calling the special portion of it. And you see that if we call it normally, it's got the regular forensics question in here. So it's an interesting way to hide stuff. And typically what happens is they're hiding an actual executable inside. For example, I'm going to do type and then C colon Windows system 32 calc.exe, right? So bring up the calculator and we're going to push it to ads.rtf and calc.exe. You see nothing was created in our folder once again. All right, so one more thing before we move on to the PowerShell side of things is when we're looking at the ADS alternate data stream, you'll notice that it's giving us the file size for the text file, right? Instead of the rich text file, which is the copy of our forensics question. It shows that it's attached, it shows it's part of an alternate data stream, but it also properly gives us the file size that's individual. And you notice it didn't add them, right? So 924 for original, 924 for the copy, so they're identical. And it didn't add those 13 bytes to it. It just simply is, as far as the system is concerned, it's a completely different file, even though we cannot see it here. All right, so let's go into the PowerShell portion now, right? So I'm not going to open up a new command prompt or a PowerShell shell. I'm just going to call PowerShell. This allows us to run it. And you notice that we changed our prompt from this to this, and the PS indicates this is PowerShell. So it's a handy little trick. In order to go back, you just simply type exit. And now I'm back to using these commands, all the dir and the regular stuff. But if we go into PowerShell, you can clear the screen, and even though dir still works differently. And technically we should be using Get-ChildItem. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to continue using dir just because it's simple, it's faster. Actually, ls works just fine. So let's use ls. We're going to tell it to look for a file, and we're going to look for *rtf. Okay, so that gives us the original forensics question and our alternate data stream. And you notice that the alternate data stream still isn't there. So in order to get that, we have to go delve further into it by calling different elements from a different program, which is enriching it through the PowerShell pipeline. So we're going to start here, and we're going to pipe it to ForEach. And what we're going to do is inside our squirrely braces here, we're going to do get item, and then we're going to do the $_ dot. Now, if you remember from previous videos, I may not have explained this very well, but what this is doing is this right here, the $_ it represents the last file that's being passed on this side of that pipe. So it's going to do them one at a time. So the first one it's going to do is this one. So it's going to be the ads-test.rtf, and for each get item in that one first, and then it'll do this one next. And so the first time it runs, that $_ represents this file here. And we're going to go with the full name for this, and we're going to look for the stream, and we're looking for any kind of stream. Okay, so now we have a bunch of information. So how do we get after this specifically? And we're looking for these things where it's got that data sign right there. So the interesting thing is we want to actually not get where it has the data. We want to get this one where the PS child name has the alternate data stream itself, which is the ads-test rtf : ads.txt. So how do we do that? Well, in order to do that, we have to start excluding stuff. And the best way to do that is to exclude it using the where object. So let's go up again, and we're going to go further into the PowerShell pipeline, and we're going to do where. And actually, I'm not going to do where object. I'm going to do question mark. Question mark is an alias for where object, so it makes it easier to do. In fact, actually, I want to show you another one that's a time saver. Instead of ForEach, you can do a percent, and it gives you exactly the same thing. So using aliases can make your command line stuff easier and smaller to type. When you're writing a script, you want to write the full thing out. That way, someone who's not as familiar with the program with you as you can come in and see what you're doing. Because if you do everything in a single line with all of these shortcuts, they're just going to sit there and scratch their head. I don't know what's going on in there. You need to make sure you're clear in your scripts. All right, so let's go into here. We're going to do where object stream because we're looking at streams. Eventually, I will type it correctly. And we don't want to find anything where it has the colon $data in there. So what we're going to do is in single quotes, I'm going to do the colon $data. All right, so now you see how that brings us just down to our one item that has the alternate data stream. So how do we get good information out of there? Because we need to have more than just what we see here, but we also need to have all of the other information. So what we're going to want to look at is the name, the file name of the actual host file for that other hidden one, the length of it, and a couple other things. So let's go back up again, and we're going to go further into the PowerShell pipeline, and I'm just going to hit enter right here. I put a pipe at the end, and I'm hitting enter so it wraps around. So it makes it easier for us to see what's going on. It doesn't go wrapping in a crazy place. So this is going to be kind of long, and it's going to be select, and normally we'd be doing select object, but we're shortening this in a little bit, shortening. So we want the stream. Okay. And so we see this is the stream. So we want that, and then we want the length in order to get the length of the information. And then we want to have PS child name. Okay, so here's the fun thing. What does PS child name mean to anybody for an alternate data stream? It means nothing. Most people don't understand what that field represents. So we can actually change that field name to something that makes more sense to people. And I'll show you how to do that right now. So instead of this right here, what we're going to do is we're going to at curly brace, we're going to give it a name equals alternate data stream. We're going to give it an expression. We've gone through these in the past, but here we are, expression. And that is, and it has to be in there, right? So what are we looking for? We're looking for the PS child name here, which is part of a variable with this get item for each loop. And we have to get that specifically. So there's kind of a funky way to do that. So let's do that. So we need to have it in full quotes, double quotes. This is a $. And then we need to create it from what? Our current variable, right? So This is PS child name. And then that is in quotes. And then we have to close that. Wait a minute.
2 hours later.
Okay, I know what I was doing wrong. And this is an easy mistake to make. When you're doing an expression, you need to actually have this not as a parentheses, but a curly brace. Okay? So that is a curly brace, that is a curly brace, and this is the underscore dot PS child name, and it needs to go into quotes here and here. So very similar to what I had before, but this now actually works. So what we have now is we've got the stream, which is the alternate data stream. We have the length of this file here. We have the path to it and the full path to the host file. So you're able to get all of those together on a single line, which is very useful when you are doing a large dump of information from a system as part of investigation. So what I like to do is I like to grab all of this and then push it into a CSV file that someone can parse through later. But that will be pushing stuff into a CSV file and working with those. I'll do that in another video. Okay, cyber warriors. Alternate data streams. Mind-blowing stuff, right? A file within a file. It's like the movie Inception, for those of you who didn't watch it. That's okay. Don't feel bad. I haven't either. So anyway, alternate data streams, you're pushing a file inside of another file, and you can call it across the system however you want, and that is a way that hackers used to hide malware in plain sight. Now they dump it all into memory using PowerShell, Python, or Rust is the new program that's being used, which is interesting. But I went over 2 different ways to pull out that information. Weirdly enough, the command prompt is the easiest way to do it. But ultimately, in the long run, PowerShell is a better way to do it because of how versatile things are, especially when you need to pull the information and then export it for your forensic investigators to do work. Maybe your tier 2 analyst or tier 3 hunt guys. But there it is. It's all there. You just can't really see it. Anyway, as per always, I hope you learned something. Happy hunting, and I'll see you in the next video.